Sometimes what hurts the most isn't the pain itself, but the silence that comes with it, the silence of not understanding why things keep going wrong, the silence of prayers that seem to bounce off the ceiling, the silence of God when we crave a whisper of His presence. It's in that silence that many feel like giving up, because without signs, we start to question if we're still on the right path. Everything feels stuck, like life is frozen in place while others move forward, smile, achieve, and we feel like we're just standing still, like we're waiting at a station where no train will ever stop. And that's where the danger lies, because silence can make us think God has abandoned us. But has He really, or is He working behind the scenes in ways we just can't see or feel right now? If you're in a season where your dreams are shelved, your faith feels suffocated and hope is buried under delay, then maybe you're right where God is doing His deepest work, because it's backstage that He prepares His greatest instruments and strengthens what's unseen. Jesus, the Son of God, spent 30 years in quiet before He performed miracles, before He taught the crowds, before He conquered the cross. He lived as a humble carpenter. Have you ever wondered why God hid the one who would change the world for so long? Because there's a strength that only grows in obscurity, a faith that only deepens without applause, a courage that's only born through ordinary days. Maybe that's the season you're in, unseen, unnoticed, yet faithful, giving your all while nothing seems to change. But hear this time is not being wasted. This is holy ground. God isn't punishing you. He's preparing you. Think about a fruit tree for weeks, even months. It grows underground, its roots stretch deep, hidden from sight, yet those roots will one day hold the harvest. If you rush the process, if you cut into the soil too soon, the tree will fall at the first strong wind, and the same is true for you. God is planting deep roots inside you, and that's why it may seem like everything's standing still on the outside. Because He's more concerned with your strength within than how you appear to the world. How many times have you asked for an instant miracle, a clear sign, a sudden breakthrough? But if God gave you what you've prayed for today, would you truly be ready to hold it? Some blessings only come after the process. Some answers only arrive after the silence, and some faith only blooms when everything feels barren. It's in that very place, in the stillness, the hiddenness, that God's eyes are most fixed on you, full of love and purpose. He sees you. He knows the nights you haven't slept, the thoughts you've never voiced, the fears you've hidden behind a smile. And even if you don't feel Him, He's there working, shaping, sharpening your faith so you're ready when the season of harvest finally arrives. Have you ever felt like you're falling behind, like everyone else is moving forward while you stay stuck? That comparison is unfair. It ignores your journey. It doesn't see the weight of the cross you carry or the intensity of the battles you fight in silence. God doesn't operate on human clocks. His timing is divine, and your path is unique. Joseph spent many years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, forgotten, rejected, humiliated. But when God's time came, everything shifted in a single day. The impossible became real. But it was the years of tears, obedience, and silence in the cell that prepared Joseph not to lose himself in the palace. And the same is happening with you right now. Even if it feels quiet, even if nothing moves, God is forming something eternal inside you. This is not the end. It's the beginning of something far greater, something God Himself is crafting with care. And when the time comes, you'll realize that every second of waiting mattered, that nothing was wasted, and everything had a purpose beyond what you imagined. Maybe right now you can't see clearly. Maybe everything inside you wants to give up. Maybe you're asking yourself daily if it's still worth trying, but it's in these very moments that you need to stand firm and not walk away. What looks lifeless may simply be waiting for God's command to bloom. And when it does, it will be so beautiful, so powerful, and far beyond what you hoped for, that you'll realize every second of waiting had a purpose. So today, I invite you to take a deep breath and keep going, even if it's slow, even with tears, even if you don't understand. Choose a small moment in your day to reconnect with God. It could be when you wake up before you go to sleep, or even during a quick break at work. Use that time to speak to Him. Tell Him what hurts. Say you're tired. God is not alarmed by your pain. He listens and He answers. Sometimes He speaks through words, sometimes through silence, but always through His presence. You may not see Him right now, but He's there in the quiet, in the growth, in the roots, preparing your life to bloom and bear fruit for many. Don't quit. What you think is the end might be the beginning of something divine, and when it happens, because it will, you'll look back on this exact moment and thank God. You didn't give up, because He never stopped working and never will. Have you ever felt too small for the problems you carry? Have you ever looked at yourself and thought, I'm not enough, I can't do this, this is too big? Maybe you were taught that faith is certainty and courage, means not feeling afraid, but that's not true. The greatest heroes of faith felt fear, they trembled, they doubted, but still they moved forward. That's what made their stories powerful, not perfection, but the choice to continue even when everything inside them said stop. Moses was called by God to lead an entire people out of slavery, but the first thing he did was mention his flaws. Lord, I can't speak well, I struggle with words, I'm not eloquent. In other words, he was saying, choose someone else. How many times have you said that to yourself? How many doors have you walked away from because you felt unprepared? How many life-changing moments have you run from because someone made you believe you weren't enough? David was just a teenager watching sheep overlooked by his own family. When he was called to face a giant, no one believed in him, not even the king who tried to dress him in armor that didn't fit, but David knew where his strength came from. It wasn't in swords or status, it was in God. And with only a sling and a stone, he brought down Goliath. Now ask yourself, what do you have in your hands today? It might look small or simple, but if faith anoints it, it's more than enough. You don't need to know it all or have it all figured out. You just need to trust that God can do great things with what little you have. Elijah was one of the greatest prophets who ever lived. He faced kings, defied idols, and saw fire fall from heaven. But after a single threat, he ran into the wilderness, sat under a tree, and asked to die. Lord, I've had enough. I can't go on anymore. What a contrast, a man who just witnessed a miracle now begging to give up. But God didn't scold him instead. He sent an angel, gave him food, and let him rest, because even the strongest fall, even the anointed grow weary. Even the chosen get tired. And God knows that He's not asking you to be superhuman only to not give up. In every single one of those moments, God didn't change His mind. He didn't give up on you. He didn't choose someone else. He stayed. He strengthened you. He equipped you. And He did amazing things through ordinary people. Maybe you're waiting to feel ready before you move forward. But what if the step comes before the readiness? What if real courage isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to move through it? How many times did you hold back from applying for a job because you felt unqualified? How many dreams, ideas, or opportunities did you walk away from because you thought no one would believe in you? How many times did you take a no as a full stop when it was really just an invitation to try again? Think about Joanne Kathleen Rowling. Before she became world famous, she was unemployed, battling depression, raising her daughter alone, and rejected by 12 publishers. 12 closed doors, 12 rejections, 12 times someone said her work wasn't good enough. But she didn't stop. She believed in the story she carried and kept writing. And that book, written in a coffee shop, became one of the greatest series in history. And you? What did you leave behind after hearing one no? How many rejections have you treated as endings when they were actually commas in your journey? You don't have to be fully prepared to take the first step. When you move, you'll realize you're more ready than you think. Fear can walk beside you, but don't let it take the wheel. Let God drive, and you just follow him. Be like David. Go with what you have. Bring your scars, your doubts, your limitations, because God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for willingness. So here's a challenge. Over the next 3 days, choose one area of your life where fear has a grip. Maybe it's starting a project, asking for help, restoring a relationship, or making a change. And take one small step. Just one step. It doesn't have to be huge, just something that moves you forward, one action that says, I won't let fear paralyze me. And when fear shows up, because it will, remember, you are not alone. You are walking the same path that Moses, David, Elijah, and many others walked, people we admire who were also afraid but didn't quit. They kept going, and because they did, they left a legacy. And so can you. You can write a new story with your life. It doesn't matter how many times you thought about quitting. Today can be the day you choose to keep going, because heaven doesn't wait for perfection. Heaven moves with faith. Even if it's small, shaky, or tired, it's still faith. And that's enough. Some pain can't be explained. Pain we carry silently between breaths. But even in that silence, God is there, because no pain is ever wasted. What once felt like punishment was actually God's preparation, shaping you for a calling far greater than anything you can currently understand. Maybe the loneliness, hidden tears, and unnoticed effort are building in you the strength needed to carry something powerful in the future. It's not just about what you've lost. It's about what God is constructing inside of you while everything else seems to be falling apart. When God allows pain, there's always a purpose behind it. Some people will only come to know God because they heard what you lived through. There are hearts that will be healed when you say, I went through that too, and God held me through it, and that will become a light for them. How could you comfort someone if you never cried? How could you speak of faith if you never had to hold on to it in the dark without answers? The pain you feel now, which seems meaningless, is actually creating something eternal, a testimony that will echo beyond your own life. God doesn't waste a single tear. Each one is counted, and each one will be transformed into something far greater than you could imagine. In the storm, we only see the chaos, but above the clouds, the sky is still blue, and God is still sovereign over every detail. Remember Nick Vujicic? He was born without arms or legs. He was bullied, fell into deep depression, and even thought about ending his life. But it was through that very pain that he found purpose. Now he travels the world, sharing hope and encouraging others not to give up. His limitation became a stage for God's grace. He could have remained silent and hidden, but he chose to turn his pain into a mission. And you, what are you doing with your pain? Are you letting it paralyze you, or are you allowing it to shape you into who you're meant to become? It's not wrong to cry. It's not wrong to feel weak or uncertain. The real mistake is giving up before you see what God is about to do. What you call a wound, God can turn into a scar. And a scar is a sign that healing has come, that it hurt, but it's over, and you survived. Maybe today your heart feels shattered and you're saying, I can't take this anymore. But don't forget, Joseph, Elijah, and Job felt that too. But none of them were abandoned. And neither will you be. This week, choose a day, sit quietly, and write down what you've walked through. Write your pain, your losses, your breaking points. Then beside them, write what you learned, how you grew, and what changed inside you. You'll see that you've been growing all along. That's grace, that's purpose, that's the way God works, invisible but powerful transformation. He takes what the world calls defeat and turns it into testimony. He takes pain and makes it healing. He takes brokenness and brings glory. And when that moment comes, you'll look back with tears in your eyes and say, now I understand. God never left me. He was preparing me all along. Have you noticed how quickly we condemn ourselves and how slowly we forgive ourselves? One mistake, one stumble, and suddenly we feel unworthy of love. We believe we've let God down, that we've gone too far. And soon a voice whispers, it's better to quit, to vanish, to stay silent, because how could God still believe in someone like me? But that's exactly when God's love proves stronger than any human logic. He doesn't see like we do. He doesn't love like we do. He doesn't give up like we do. Do you remember Peter? He was one of Jesus' closest disciples. He was the one who declared, "Even if everyone leaves you, I never will." But all it took was one night filled with fear, pressure, and doubt. And he denied Jesus, not once, not twice, but 3 times. After everything he had witnessed, after all he lived through at the Master's side, Peter still failed. He sinned. He betrayed. And what did Jesus do afterward? He went to Peter. He searched for him. He restored his identity and gave him the responsibility to care for his sheep. He didn't choose someone safer or cleaner. He didn't pick someone more emotionally stable. He chose the very one who had denied him, because God doesn't define us by our failures, but by His grace. And that grace reaches the deepest, darkest corners of our soul. Maybe right now you feel distant, guilty, and disappointed by your own choices. Maybe you've drifted from faith, stopped praying, left church, or cut ties with people who once drew you closer to God. Maybe you did things you swore you'd never do. And now, looking in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself. But listen, God still sees you, not as a failure, not as a lost cause, but as His child, His beloved. That father who stood on the porch watching the road every day, hoping for the moment his son would appear. And when he did, he ran and embraced him. You may have changed, but His love has not. You may have walked away, but He never moved. He's still waiting for you like the father of the prodigal son. Restoration doesn't need long explanations. It just needs sincere repentance and a heart willing to start again. How many times have you felt you went too far? How many times have you thought that this mistake was the final straw, that this time God would really give up on you? Maybe you're living that moment right now. Maybe you're asking, is there still hope for me? And the answer is yes, always yes, because the cross of Christ is not a one-time chance. It is a daily invitation, a constant reminder that every new sunrise holds the opportunity for a fresh beginning. Have you ever heard of Joyce Meyer? She was sexually abused by her own father for many years. She grew up with a broken soul, full of trauma and doubts about her worth. For a long time she felt dirty, unworthy, too damaged to ever be used by God. But one day, she chose to believe that grace was greater than her pain, that God's love was stronger than her past. And now her voice reaches millions, bringing healing to those who also believed they had gone too far. Because when God restores, He doesn't just heal hearts. He transforms lives through the very story that once brought shame. And you, will you keep hiding? Will you keep letting your past define your future? Or will you rise and declare, I am not what I've done. I am who God says I am. Because that's the truth. You are more than your fall. You are more than the voices that accuse you. You are loved. You are called. You are a child of the living God. You are a masterpiece of the Creator. Even if today you feel like you are falling apart inside, maybe the first step is to forgive yourself. Maybe it's time to stop punishing yourself for past choices and begin to see what can still be built from here. You can't change the past, but you can allow God to redirect your future into something greater. Take a step. Even if you're afraid, even if you're crying, pray. Even if it's been a long time since you last did. Talk to God. Even if you think He doesn't want to hear you, He does. He always has. You are not lost. You are being pursued. If this message has reached you right now, it's because God is whispering again into your heart. I still want you. I still have plans for you. Don't give up on yourself, because God hasn't given up. He never does. And it's in that love that you can begin again, as many times as needed, because grace has no limit, and neither does hope. If you've made it this far, it means there's still a flame burning within you. Maybe it's faint, almost gone, but it's still there. And that means you still have something to live for. Despite everything you've gone through, you're still standing, still breathing, still have a heart that beats, a heart that's been broken, wounded, ignored, yet it still beats. That alone is a miracle. Look at yourself. So much has tried to stop you. Disappointments, losses, sleepless nights, moments where darkness surrounded you. Yet you kept going. You made it here, maybe not with strength, maybe stumbling, maybe dragging your feet. But you came. That shows you are stronger than you think, and that God never let go of your hand. Life took things from you, but never God's gaze on your story. You may have forgotten to pray, but God never forgot about you. You may have lost your faith some days, but God never lost faith in who you can become. Now He calls you with love. No conditions, no demands, just open arms and eyes filled with mercy. He says, "Son, daughter, come back. I still have so much to do in you." Maybe no one ever told you this with truth, but hear it now. You matter. You are needed. Your presence makes a difference. The world needs the light that only you carry. Your story, with all its pain and failures, could be heaven's answer to someone you'll meet in the future. You're not a mistake. You're not a waste. You are a miracle in progress, even if no one's hugged you lately or asked how you really are. Even if you're carrying invisible pain, God sees it, and He doesn't see it with judgment. He sees it with compassion. He understands your weakness. He knows your battles. He knows the tears you swallow in silence so no one notices. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to be honest. And if all you have today is a broken heart, offer it just as it is. God creates beauty out of fragments. He specializes in turning ashes into life, wounds into healing, shame into honor. And you will see it happen, because your story doesn't end here. Believe it, lighter mornings will come, sincere laughter, healing embraces. New beginnings filled with peace will come, and you will live them. You'll look back and understand that the dark days weren't the end. They were part of the process, nights that watered the soil, where God planted something new in you. And what's growing inside of you now is faith, is life, is promise. Don't give up. Please don't give up. All of heaven is cheering for you. And so am I, because you deserve to live everything God dreamed for you since the beginning, and you will. You will.